Hi parents, this is Becky Beeler and I am your son or daughter's English teacher. Because my line is always notoriously long at conferences, I thought I would give you some information about how the class works so we can alleviate some wait time and make it less stressful for all of us. Here is the portfolio page, and this is located on my website but also on page 2 of the students' notebooks, and they should be able to go over this with you and they should know how the class works, so you can test them when we're done with this video. We have 10 standards, and over here are the standards. These are the 5 writing standards, and then we have theme, word meaning and discussion, along with our vocabulary test and life skills. Life skills means is the student completing their work? Are they doing it accurately? Are they doing it on time? I do accept late work, but they will be penalized if they have a lot of late assignments. Ultimately, what you're going to see in Synergy is an E for exceeds, an M for meets, an N for nearly meets. The goal is to have everybody meet every standard or exceed it. And we know that most students would like an A, so in order to earn an A, students must have 4 exceeds, a minimum of 4 exceeds with no nearly meets or beginnings. One of the really important things to note is that the student's overall score will reflect his or her growth. So for example, the majority of students got a nearly meets here in their first attempt at theme because it's hard and it's their first time, and it doesn't mean they can't write and it doesn't mean they're not smart. It just means it's a new skill. They're practicing something new and it's difficult. So we're going to practice it more, and then they'll have a second attempt like every standard, and if they improve, we get to keep their high score. So if they go from a nearly meets to an exceeds, they will end up with an exceeds for that score because I want to reward them for where they are and the learning that takes place versus where they started. Let's see. So this is how the class works for grades. This is what you'll see in Synergy, and know that students get 2 attempts for every standard. If, for example, there's one standard that they're not getting, let's say they get a nearly meets twice, they will get an opportunity to resubmit one standard at the end of the semester to meet it. Okay, let's talk about Synergy for just a second. It's really important not to look at percentages in Synergy. They're not accurate because we're on a 4-point scale, so you'll want to follow the letter grade that is there. I promise you I'm not lazy about putting in assignments. I only report on the assessments that they do, and we have to practice many times before we actually assess. So that's why right now there's only 3 things in there. And because of that, I ended up making things not for grading because it was giving people panic attacks. It looked like they had a C when in fact no one has a C. It's just a small snapshot of where we are with only 3 out of our 10 standards. So those are how they're doing so far on what we've done. And let's see. If you ever have any questions about life skills, if you see anything lower than a meets, if you see a nearly meets or a beginning, it means your son or daughter is not doing enough homework and they need to see me, and I can tell them what they need to do to make that up. Speaking of assessments, we are working on our first essay right now, our narrative. So you should see your son or daughter working diligently this weekend to write their first draft. And as soon as I score those, the narrative will be due at the end of October. I'll put those scores in and then I'll put them for grading, and so you'll have a good indication of where they are at that point. Remember that the quarter is just a progress report grade really, because we go by semesters in high school. So we have until the end of January to get their grade where they want it to be. Okay. I think I should show you my website. Excuse my technology situation here. Where'd you go? I want here. Sorry about that. Okay. Go Ducks, even though we're having a horrible season. Okay. So advanced freshmen, under this tab, I really try to include almost every single document that we have, and I also include additional things that we may not get to in class. So there's a lot of resources that are there for students even if we don't get them. So for example, narrative, tons of information, sample papers here, a lot of articles and things that could help them, 300 ways to say said, to help them with their writing. And we won't be able to address everything here. I think the most important thing that students should know is that my calendar is here on the home page, and this tells them exactly the homework every night. And I think we should be clear about the fact that not everyone listens to me. And so it seems as though whenever people ask their friends what we did or what they missed or what they're supposed to do, that their friend may not have been listening to me. So I would recommend checking the calendar first before checking with a friend. I'm just saying. Okay, the narrative is due. It's kind of cut off here on October 31st. Their mandala is due on the 2nd. And their outside reading book is due November 8th. And all they have to do for that is read a book for pleasure and put 20 sticky notes throughout their book indicating their thinking as they're reading. We've talked about strategic reading, and so they'll challenge the text or interpret, maybe analyze characters, the theme. It's really, I just want to see what they're thinking as they're reading, but mostly I just would like them to read for the sake of reading. So I hope that this is helpful to you guys. I look forward to meeting you at conferences. I know that this class can be stressful and for students, so please encourage them to come talk to me if they're having a hard time, as I really want to make it a good experience for everybody, and I want to help them improve their writing, their critical thinking ability, and I think we'll have a great year. So please feel free to communicate anytime with me if you have questions, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.